Marietu Sidibe, and this is QTV News coming to you live from our studios along Caraba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. Here are the main local news headlines. In an interview with QTV, the Minister of Information has reacted to the signing into law of the Access to Information Bill, saying it is in line with President Adama Barrow's commitment to supporting and enhancing the country's democracy. The Minister for Health on Thursday presided over the launching of the Bandul fumigation exercise to quell the infestation of mosquitoes and other insects. A sensitization forum for bakers and transporters of bread was organized on Wednesday to improve the hygiene, quality and safety of bread production and distribution. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and other key stakeholders on Thursday organized a national consultation meeting on mainstreaming pre-vocational education in basic and secondary education. Those were our main headlines. Now the news in detail. The Minister of Information has reacted to the signing into law of the Access to Information, describing the development as historic and in keeping with President Adama Barrow's commitment to supporting and enhancing the country's democracy. In the interview with QTV, the minister has also highlighted government's plans for making sure the Act operates in the way it should. Mahmoud Laminchoy reports.
Gambians are united in commending President Barrow for keeping his promise for the Gambia and for his government's collaboration with civil society to deliver a celebrated piece of legislation, namely the Access to Information Act. The Minister of Information reacts to this by stressing President's commitment to democracy.
The signing into law of the Access to Information Act is ample demonstration by the President of the Republic of the Gambia, President Adama Barrow, of his unflinching commitment and support to enhancing and expanding the democratic space.
From facilitating the Access to Information Act begins the task of making sure it works. The minister sets out government's efforts and plans for operationalization of the Access to Information Act within the civil service.
On the side of the government, what we need to do is to expedite the process of ensuring that those information that we deem as sensitive and are not supposed to be released, we classify them. And that classification process will of course start. We are working with the Office of the Secretary General and Head of the Civil Service to ensure that all permanent secretaries are well conscientized on this.
The Access to Information Act has also established provisions that oblige public bodies to publish certain information such as policies, reports, contracts, licenses, authorization and public-private partnership, and detailed information about the design and execution of subsidy programs implemented with public fund, including its budget and expenditure.
In the proactive disclosure is where annually government is expected to give out, a kind of like an annual report on the activities it has conducted through a range of departmental engagements, and this can be compiled, but also a secretariat will be set up where all these things can be channeled through. So those are ongoing processes, and those processes will now be thought about quickly so that we can see how to operationalize those ones.
The Access to Information Act, like other laws of the Gambia, will always require government's commitment and support, of which the Minister of Information gives a reassurance in this case. Minister Silla outlines government's objectives for the much celebrated and long-awaited Access to Information Act.
And the basic and fundamental objective here is that citizens' engagement has to continue, and that citizens have to have access to public information that is not classified.
It is a law that empowers citizens' rights for access to information from public bodies. Any citizen can request in writing access to public records and information from public institutions who are legally bound to provide the requested information unless deemed to have fallen within the exceptions and exemptions established by the Act. The exceptions include information classified as matters of national security and defense, personal information about another person, economic interest of the state, and other prescribed exceptions in the Act. Importantly, it entitles citizens to request personal information about themselves held by public bodies. Mahmoud Lamin Chai, QTV News.
The Minister for Health on Thursday presided over the launching of the Banjul fumigation exercise. The exercise to quell the infestation of mosquitoes and other insects is initiated by the Banjul City Council, implemented in partnership with the Ministry of Health and the Rotary Club Against Malaria and Tuberculosis. And Sumana Isonyase reports.
With support from the Rotary Club Against Malaria and Tuberculosis, who donated 2 fogging machines, the Banjul City Council and the Ministry of Health are implementing this 4-day exercise to help clear the city of mosquitoes and other insects, and to also combat malaria and other diseases. The Minister for Health, Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, thanked the BCC for spearheading a project he says will greatly support government's health drive in the city, and went on to commend Red Cross, Public Health and Community Department volunteers for their selfless sacrifice to undertake the spraying component. Government, he adds, recognizes Banjul City Council's support to the Ministry of Health.
We wish to use this opportunity to emphasize the need for collaboration between government entities and all other stakeholders, as is manifested here today between the Ministry of Health, the Public Health Directorate of the Ministry of Health, the Malaria Control Program of the Ministry of Health, and the Banjul City Council.
The Deputy Mayor, Honorable Omar Toure, says this mass mosquito fumigation exercise couldn't be timelier. He called on the people of Banjul to support the initiative and revealed that 25 spraying tanks and 3 fogging machines will be used during the exercise. He also thanked the Rotary Club for supporting an initiative which he says will complement government and the BCC's efforts in fighting malaria.
So we are training our own people, our own volunteers. They know the inner city better than your workers. And we are saying a big thank you to your people again. I don't know whether they call you Board of Health or what, but here we are calling you, Banjul help us. And thank you very much, we appreciate it. And once again with my councillors, we are saying a big thank you to everybody.
The PRO of Banjul City Council, Mahmoud Elba, says supporting the health sector and ensuring the safety and health of the people of Banjul remains a top priority for Council. Thus, the initiation of this mass fumigation exercise.
Whereby Banjul City Council came up with such an initiative in close collaboration with the Ministry of Health to make sure that we fumigate Banjul to get rid of or to eradicate mosquitoes and also insects that are recently appearing in the city of Banjul. Of course, it is very important to inform the people that this launching is indeed the first of its kind, because the amount of stakeholders involved in this important exercise that is about to be implemented in the city of Banjul for the next 4 days, it is indeed worth celebrating.
Officials say they hope this exercise will help control the population of mosquitoes and other insects in the city, thereby reducing their damage to human health, economies and enjoyment. Mosquito control is a vital public health practice throughout the world, and especially in the tropics, because mosquitoes spread many diseases such as malaria and the Zika virus. At the end of the ceremony, the Minister for Health, Dr. Ahmad Lamin Samate, led volunteers on the exercise, beginning at the BCC premises and along Independence Drive. Ansumane Sonyasi for QTV News.
The Food Safety and Quality Authority on Wednesday organized a sensitization forum for bakers and transporters of bread to improve the hygiene, quality and safety of bread production in the Gambia. Abibatu Sise reports.
Bread is one of the most consumed foods in the Gambia after rice. To improve the quality of consumers, Mamadou Ba, the Director General of the Food Safety and Quality Authority, says the training will incorporate and strengthen hygiene in bread production in the Gambia. He added that in ensuring better and safer bread production, the FSQA has conducted a series of inspections in making sure bakeries comply with safety regulations.
The past months, the Food Safety and Quality Authority have gone around all the bakeries, actually did some inspections and found some of these things to be true, but then actually engaged the stakeholders and lessened some of the problems. Nonetheless, when it comes to handling, even if the bread is produced at the best hygienic practice, sometimes the handling by the transporters is really discouraging and is really of concern to the consumers. And as a result, we said that we will initiate this training, which will involve the bakers and also the transporters.
The Director of Industry at the Ministry of Trade, Faba Jame, highlighted the importance of bread, revealing that about 80% of the Gambia's population consumes bread daily. He says his ministry is committed to ensuring that the price of basic commodities like bread is regulated.
Price is one of the sensitive issues, particularly looking at the purchasing power of most Gambians, and the fact that bread, as I mentioned earlier, repeatedly you buy it in a day, maybe twice or 3 times. So any price that is given which is different from what we have agreed, then is going to consume or is going to break the pockets of the poor people. This is why as a ministry we want to ensure that the prices remain as it is.
Boyda Kande, the president of the Bakers Association of the Gambia, says the association has representatives in all regions of the country. However, they face various challenges.
The Tapalafa bakeries are not as up to standard as the Saint Food bakeries and things like that. But we are trying, and alhamdulillah, with this food safety pressure, we are coming up. We are coming up, and most of us now are okay.
Now more than ever, safety in the production of essential food items like bread is important in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic. The Food Safety and Quality Authority is mandated to ensuring food production and services are done using best practices. For QTV News, I am Abibatu Sise.
We will now go for a commercial break. When we return, we will have some more local news stories.
The best product in town is back. QCell's MiFi router. Get the best MiFi in the country for just $2,800 and connect up to 15 users with 4G internet speeds and a long-lasting battery life. So rush now to any of our customer care locations and get the best for less while stocks last. For more info, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Senior Boss, the Gambia's quality network. We innovate, others follow.
Welcome back from that commercial break. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and other key stakeholders on Thursday organized a national consultation meeting on mainstreaming pre-vocational education in the basic and secondary education, starting with grades 4, 5 and 6. Omar Pijalo reports.
The Africa Union's heads of states and government adopted the Continental Education Strategy for Africa CESA 2016 to 2025 as the framework for a transformative education and training system in Africa. The strategy requested member states and partners to promote the alignment of technical and vocational education and training TVET skills and to expand TVET opportunities. In line with CESA and its TVET strategy, UNESCO Dakar has partnered with the government of the Gambia through the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education MOPSI and education sector stakeholders to strengthen the TVET system in the Gambia through the implementation of this project. The project aims to contribute to the development of sustainable, affordable, accessible, relevant and quality TVET in the Gambia. It will also contribute to promoting self-employment and eradicating poverty, promoting employability, enhancing socio-economic development, and supporting lifelong learning. At the ceremony, Honorable Sida Jata, a member of the Select Committee on Education, said the meeting must serve as a basis for the integration of TVET education in our basic education curriculum, describing the consultation meeting as timely and apt, and called for the total review of our education policies.
Children who are in fact technically inclined are helped to develop to hate those aspects. People who have become excellent carpenters hate becoming carpenters. Everybody wants to be a necktie wearer in the office.
Professor Per Gomez, the acting Deputy Vice Chancellor Academic at the UTG, called on stakeholders in the education sector to champion the cause of TVET education for the socio-economic development of the country. Honorable Yaya Gassama, Chairman of the Education Select Committee, said hopes are not lost completely for TVET education in the Gambia, adding that identifying a problem is one step towards solving it. Mrs. Henrietta Bruma Sonko of MRC Holland Foundation said the quality of TVET education in the Gambia can be improved through enhanced TVET institutions, TVET teacher training, and provision of pedagogical resources and equipment.
You go to the university and you get your degree and you go for an office job. But the person coming to fix your plumbing for you is earning more than what you are earning.
In his opening remarks, the Permanent Secretary at MOPSI, Louis Moses Mendy, said the overall goal of the project is to create an enabling environment that will give young people a better chance of finding decent employment by providing them with lifelong learning opportunities, as recommended by the Sustainable Development Goals 4 and 8 through TVEX. PS Mendy called for a change of public perception towards TVET education.
So the importance is we need to give them skills while they are young. And that is the reason for this function. We want to catch them while they are young. We want to expose them to skills as early as grade 4.
The TVET unit of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education have developed their curriculum frameworks, which will serve as guidelines for teachers and set the standards and regulations that will ensure that TVET education is mainstream into the overall education system of the Gambia. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Now, marriage is a beautiful union when everything goes right. However, not all are ready to embrace it. Fatou Sanyang went to find out why some young men and women are reluctant to get married. Here's what she found.
Marriage is a formal union between two individuals uniting their lives legally, economically, and emotionally. There are advantages and disadvantages to getting married, and some young men and women are still choosing not to tie the knot due to various reasons. Fabakary Tamba has been married for 11 years. He believes that some men are discouraged from getting married due to the cost.
I am married, but what young men usually complain about is that young women prefer a man who lives abroad. It is a problem if you want to get married and you are not financially strong. Young women don't look at us. It is very rare that they do, and that is why some men are not getting married these days.
Mr. Tamba advised young men to get married despite all the challenges, saying that marriage is sacred and a commandment from God. They said a married woman also encourages young men to get married early because doing so would be advantageous to them.
Young people should get married at an early age because that is better for them. If you wait until you get old, your child will not be able to take care of you. All of you will face challenges. If you can get married, please do so. If you cannot, try, because when I got married, my husband had nothing. He was a farmer. There was a time I was the one taking care of the house financially. We thank God that he has 3 passenger vans now. Marriage is from God.
Z. Maridikum is still single. She says women nowadays want to be financially stable or independent before getting married because being a full-time housewife leaves one subjected to dependency.
Most women don't like to build themselves. They want to empower themselves. Maybe they would like to do a business, have money before they go into marriages because they feel like when they get married and the men maltreat them if they don't have anything doing, the men will see them like slaves. So now most girls They feel like they need to go to school, empower themselves so that they can be somebody before going into a man's home.
Yaya Njai, who is also single, believes that it is not a lack of finance that is the cause for him being single, and tells us what the hold-up is.
I am
not married yet because the time is not due. If the time is right, I will surely get married.
The Bible says in Genesis 2:24, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, advised Muslims to marry. He forbade the practice of celibacy. He said, marriage is my precept and my practice. Those who do not follow my practice are not of me. He also said, when a man has married, he has completed one half of his religion. Despite the religious revelations, some men and women of this generation are still reluctant to get married. For QTV News, I am Fatou Sanyang.
Sometimes adversity can lead to adventure. So it proved for our reporter Omar P. Jallo, who visited the Bansang to Bushtown crossing point only to discover that the ferry had been sent away for repairs. However, that did not mean people could not cross. Here's what he found.
On arrival, we found out the mechanized ferry had been sent for repairs. However, this did not mean we had to turn back. Far from it. The Bansang to Bushtown crossing point is about 200 meters long, and travelers cross using a small ferry with a long cable attached running from one riverbank to the other. Travelers who embark on the crossing must pull the rope with their hands to put the ferry in motion to be able to cross to the other side of the river. In most crossing points in the Gambia and around the world, ferries, boats and canoes with engines are used to carry commuters across. The Bansang Bushtown is a throwback to a bygone age. I have used many crossing points in the Gambia, but this one is unique. The crossing is for free for commuters, animals and goods, but those crossing with vehicles have to pay. The crossing point is strategic because it is also used by farmers and traders to transport goods to other regions, but there are also others who use small canoes to cross. When we boarded the ferry, we started pulling the rope and the ferry started moving. This we continue doing until we got to the other side of the riverbank. The exercise is laborious, demanding, time-consuming, but fun for travelers, especially the children and first-timers like myself. As infrastructural development by the government, like the construction of roads and bridges, increase across the country, and once the regular ferry is repaired and back in operation, will this signal the end of the manual ferry, or will it be maintained and preserved for posterity for the future generations? Bridges over rivers are a sign of progress, but there will be many who will miss the thrill of pulling a hand-drawn ferry like this one. As the march of progress continues, one day, ferries like this one will be consigned to a museum. Having finally been on one, I can say future generations will miss out a fun way to travel. Reporting for QTV News, I am Omar P. Jallo.
Quite interesting there. Temporary tattooing called henna has become an increasingly popular trend of beautifying the skin. The history of the art can be traced to Egypt as far back as 1500 BC. Fatou Sanyang looks at the reasons behind the popularity of the centuries-old fashion in the Gambia, and this is her report.
Temporary tattoos are now firmly part of fashion in the Gambia, loved by women and girls. It is a beautification that stands out, and many women do it during festive occasions like weddings, bridal showers and birthdays, amongst others, to complement their looks. Moranjar is a tattoo artist at the Sarekunda market. He talks about his business.
Wala événement ay Tabaski Korité wala ngam xew wala ngenté affaire démé non bo diggé ñu defal la bam nice bo diggé nga xol sample bo bëgg rek bu la né nga xol album bi.
We usually have customers during festive occasions like naming ceremonies, wedding, among other events. The chemicals that we normally use are from China, but now they have become very scarce due to the pandemic. Some people have reactions from tattooing because their skins are sensitive. People have different skin types. Some have skin allergies. It also depends on the mixture of the chemicals used. For me, my mixtures are mostly skin-friendly. I mix them thoroughly.
Daisy has been a tattoo artist for over 10 years. She explains the popularity.
Tattoo is now a fashion. Women come here especially during events like birthdays or anytime they feel like. They usually come here for tattoos to beautify themselves. Tattoos have different prices. If you choose the one that contains the red chemical, that is $75, but the plain one is $100, which you can have for $75.
Kujeja, a customer who came to tattoo her hands, has this to say.
I love it because it beautifies hands. It also takes a while before it fades away.
Though tattoos are beautiful, they may also have some health hazards. According to WHO, they have some health implications if not done by an expert. These include developing skin and other infections like allergies. For now, what most tattoo lovers care about is beauty and elegance and being in the spotlight rather than the health implications. It is also worth pointing out that most of the tattoos we saw were temporary. That could be washed away after the occasions, not permanent ones. And studies have shown that there is less risk of infection from these non-permanent tattoos. For QTV News, I am Fatou Sanya.
Before we end, here's a recap of the main news headlines. In an interview with QTV, the Minister of Information has reacted to the signing into law of the Access to Information Bill, saying it is in line with President Adama Barrow's commitment to supporting and enhancing the country's democracy. The Minister for Health on Thursday presided over the launching of the Banjul fumigation exercise to quell the infestation of mosquitoes and other insects. A sensitization forum for bakers and transporters of bread was organized on Wednesday to improve the hygiene, quality and safety of bread production and distribution in the Gambia. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education and other key stakeholders on Thursday organized a national consultation meeting on mainstreaming pre-vocational education in basic and secondary education. That's all we have for you in this bulletin. Thank you for watching and have a nice weekend.